Hello everyone, welcome back to another ARK 100 Day Challenge. My name is Siegebreaker, and this time we face off against something that we have never had to deal with before. Vampires. In the harsh tundra that is Arat Prime and ARK's newest canon DLC map, we awaken 1,000 years after the events of extinction, thanks to our friend and guide Helena Walker with one simple goal in mind. Find a way into the royal palace, steal the Lost King's Engram Codex, and send it off to Helena so she can bring it and us to where she is out in the galaxy, and finish what we started a millennium ago. Purge the Earth of all traces of element. Purge the lost colony, or die trying. Let's see if we have what it takes. And here we are. The frozen wasteland of Arat Prime. That's a bear right now, right beside me.
You've been infected by red element, but I kept you from being turned by firing an engram pulse.
No.
Network. I'm using that same
No.
network to communicate with you from a planet far away. At least until the so-called
Oh no!
King figures out how I've accessed it. My friends and I need your help, Survivor. And together, we can help you reach safety
No.
here with us. Find a way in and locate the codex so you can transmit it across the galaxy to me here on Arat, along with your own consciousness. You can do this, Survivor.
Hear me, my thrall. You may have fled blindly into the wastes, but we will find you and bring you back. Do not fear. You are no longer sustenance to us. You have tasted of our life force and begun your journey to become one of us.
Sure thing, David.
One of the lost. And so, it is only a
These
matter
rocks
of time
are real special.
before we are reunited.
Alright, alright, so, we are back. Nope, that bear's still there. I'm gone. Alright, how am I gonna get out? That's the question. I think I'm just gonna have to keep going this way. And pray for the best. Because I can't go back that way. Oh no, that's a Capro. No. Okay. Capro or Dire Bear? I'm gonna take my chance with the Dire Bear. I'm like this is great, man. This is how you start ARK. Get flipping ambushed by a polar bear and a Capro. No! Alright, here we go. Oh, it's right on my ass. It is... Oh, no! That's a lot of health! There I go. Gone. Well, that's death number uno. Day 1 started off like any other normal beginning to ARK. Dying as soon as I spawn in by a polar bear, no less. In a zone labeled easy. After that little hiccup, though, it was pretty smooth sailing. Just standard procedure from there. You know, gather fiber, get some stone, punch some trees, the usual. For those of you wondering why I'm level 170, though, let me explain. In all of my 100-day playthroughs I've done so far, I've kept the same survivor because that's technically how it works in the lore. The survivor ascends to a new map, so to stick with the story, I've decided, just like before, to keep that same character. A character who, so far, has defeated each and every boss on Alpha difficulty. Now, did it make my playthrough a little easier than if I would have started off with a level 1 survivor? Probably. But the point of these main 100-day videos is to get through the entire story of each ARK map in, well, 100 days. So, in this case, sticking with the lore is much more important to me than starting fresh for an authentic level 1 survivor playthrough where I die 50 times in the first 5 days. That also means I start with all the tech grams unlocked, which really came in handy throughout the playthrough. Because, listen, I had to get to tech as fast as I could. And, you know, if you don't like that, if you think that's, well, cheating, oh well, so sad. It's my playthrough, not yours, so, suck it. Anyways, now that I've got that out of the way, let's move on to the mods I use while Past Me continues to play the game. Nothing too different from my other 100-day videos if you've watched them. I have Vanilla Sprinkles, TG Stacking Mod, Dino Depot, Dirt Dino Finder, Solo Farm Mod, Easy Honey Hive, Change Dino Gender Potion, and last but not least, the Upgrade Station. Most of these mods are just some quality of life changes, but let me explain a few of them to you. The Easy Honey Hive wasn't originally on the world. I downloaded that mod around day 15, I believe, because the dino spawns were messed up on single player, which, well, let's just say we'll get to that eventually. You'll see what I mean. Anyhow, I couldn't find a bee for the life of me. All right, so I downloaded a mod because I couldn't just wait around 2 weeks for Wildcard to fix single player. The upgrade station is just something I personally like to play with. I like having the ability to upgrade my own tools by myself, so there's that. All the others are pretty self-explanatory, though. Now that the housekeeping stuff is out of the way, though, let's get to the main video, shall we? Day 2 started off by killing a level 5 Diplo for Hyde, but I quickly realized that the Diplo had 2 babies, one of each gender, so I came up with well, it was an idea. I could raise the Diplos, right? Breed them, and then harvest the offspring for Hyde, for it was the one resource I was pretty low on. Listen, I'm not proud of it, but some things just have to be done in order to survive, alright? But in order to harvest the max amount of Hyde, I'd need a certain creature, and as luck would have it, there was a decent level Therizino just wandering beside my base. I do believe it was around a level 85 or so. So, after making a trap and knocking it out, I placed some berries in its inventory and quickly ran over to the aberration zone right beside my base where I found some biotoxin plants. Since I didn't have a lot of narcotics, the biotoxin helped out tremendously these early days. While I waited for the Diplos to grow up and the Theri to tame, which took forever, I did a few minor things around base. Killed some animals for pelt to make the new fur gear, harvested up more metal because my supply was running low, and towards the end of day 2, I actually found a level 145 Beelzebufo that I just had to tame. Day 3 was spent mostly around base for one reason and one reason only. Well, alright, maybe 2 reasons. The first was blood packs. For a good majority of the day, I would simply harvest my own blood because I knew that I wanted to tame up a Desmodus as fast as possible, and I knew you needed a decent amount of blood packs to do so. When I wasn't harvesting on my own blood, I was sitting around base AFK waiting for the Diplo eggs to hatch out. Once they were hatched, though, I had to wait until well, you know, I had to wait until the babies fell asleep. Indefinitely. Once there was a good pile of babies, mm, 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 no, I can't say that. I mean, hide, hide on the ground. Yes, just hide. No, no babies here. I would walk on over with the fairy and collect it. Now, these Diplos, they gave me enough hide to last a good long while. I didn't need to farm up hide until much later on in the playthrough, when I was crafting OP saddles for the boss. But that's for later. Towards the end of day 3, I finally made my way over to the Desmodus cave on top of my frog, for I had enough blood packs to tame up a breeding pair of bats. Now, I wasn't looking to perfect tame them or anything. I just wanted to have a pair so I could get an imprinted one. First, let me just say the frog totally slept on. The Beelzebufo is unironically a pretty fast mount to get around on. I didn't even realize it until after I started using it to travel around. Solid A tier creature in my opinion. Day 4, I was inside the Desmodus cave, and luckily, I found 2 level 100 bats not too far into the cave. They were the only 2 around as well. Plus, opposite genders, so a win-win in my book. After getting their aggro, I let them pick me and feed from the blood packs. Now, of course, they weren't going to be perfect, but I really didn't care. I just wanted Desmodus. There was at one point where I did almost die from fall damage. For whatever reason, the bat decided to take me all the way up to the ceiling, but luckily I did survive the drop. It was pretty smooth sailing after that, though. Tamed them up, got out of Dodge, and then went back home. Once I was home, I started to breed them for an imprinted one, which I eventually named Bloodborne, who, now that I think back on it, actually did survive the entire series despite being a not so great level. Bloodborne, definitely one of the real MVPs of this playthrough. Along with that frog, who I cannot for the life of me remember the name of at the moment. He was an MVP too. Towards the end of day 4, I found a silica pearl and oil cave up on one of the mountains, though, so I spent a good long while farming up as much as I could carry before heading on back down to base. All of day 5 was spent taming up a breeding pair of Argies. I first found a level 145 female that I used a standard Argie trap on. You know the one. 5 to 6 dino gates, 2 doors on either end, and you lead it inside. Bada bing, bada boom. Robert is your uncle. How many of you understood that reference? Moving on. I actually perfect tamed that one with mutton, but something absolutely terrible happened when I found that male Argie. It was a 150, which excited me to no end. However, once it was down in the trap, I heard a spider skittering across the ground, and before I could do anything to save it, the spider simply walked into the trap, bit my level 150 RG, and destroyed the taming effectiveness. I was so butthurt, it's not even funny. But there was absolutely no way I was going to wait for the RG to wake back up just to knock it out again. That was time that I simply did not have. So, unfortunately, I just had to deal with a busted 150 RG. Thank you, Random Iranian number 1, for absolutely nothing. Day 6 was the worst day of this entire playthrough, and I'm not making that up. There was one reason it was so bad. One reason, and one reason only. The Gloon. The absolute worst creature I have ever encountered before. It's like if you stuck a microreactor and ichthyornis together, and somehow they had a baby with the abilities of a Eutyrannus. They're small, they're annoying, and I absolutely loathe their entire existence. They are now my arch enemy and ARK. I will never, ever tame one, and that's a promise that so far I have kept. It is the only Lost Colony creature that I didn't tame. The only one where I refuse to ever get one. Even when all those videos online suggested how OP they were, I didn't care. I spent, I kid you not, 40 minutes dealing with gloons attacking my base. I like to refer to it as the 2025 attack of the gloons. 40 minutes of being absolutely trolled by a floating blobfish with balloon eyes. I honestly have never been this annoyed before. You can probably hear it in my voice when I show you this clip, but I was about ready to put the controller down and walk away from my console. At first, I tried to tame it, but then I realized how stupid of an idea it was, and I just quit while I was ahead. I genuinely was pissed off. Like, I do not remember the last time I was actually mad at this game. But I can assure you, the Gloon, it somehow accomplished the impossible. It made me hate one of my favorite games. Finally, gone. We're done. I hate Gloons. They're my new cursed enemy. There's more. No! Oh my god, there's more of them. I have to put foundations everywhere. I'm being bullied by gloons. Why? Can you please just leave me alone? I'm being bullied by a gloon. Where am I going? Buddy, I have been bullied by gloon. Gone. Anyways, towards the end of day 6, I found a pair of penguins. One adult and one baby. So I brought them back to base and tamed them because I knew I'd need a lot of polymer if I was to reach tech tier soon, and as far as I could tell, penguins was definitely the best option for that. Day 7 was mainly flying around looking for a high level Anki and Doedicurus to tame. While they were doing that, I was sitting around base and breeding up the bats and Argies. Day 8 was, well, it was a fail. Let me just say that first and foremost. I had this stray idea that would not leave my head. What if I could do a Revenant outpost with just Argies and bats? Now, you all may be sitting there and saying, well, Sage, that's a dumb idea. And you would be correct. It is pretty dumb, but let me remind you that these first few days were streamed the days right after release, and not a lot of guides were out about the best way to do these outposts. So, me thinking I could brute force it with about 30 flyers, decided to take on a beta outpost. Not even gamma. I went straight for beta, which was an absolute fustercluck. I made it through wave 1 with 10,000 health already gone from the outpost. By wave 3, I had half health on the outpost, and that's when it really started to go bad. Two words. Two words for you. Revenant Bronto. Yeah, I didn't last much longer after that guy decided to show his face. Bloodborne almost died just by one hit, but luckily he survived, which is more than I can say for some of the others. Mainly the bats. They were, well, a group of them were one hit by the Bronto, and yeah, that was that. First outpost, definitely a fail. After that, I went back home with my tail tucked between my legs and decided that I needed to make an actual house in case more gloons decided to show up out of nowhere. So I spent the rest of days 8 and 9 making my first base. It was, it was alright. It was a house, so I mean, there is that. Day 10, it was decided that, well, if Lost Colony is going to be this unforgiving, I may as well get as powerful as I can. And by that, I mean tech. So, I found a pool of black pearls just outside of the city limits, which meant I could fly there, and grabbed a couple hundred black pearls. I think it was around 500, for I would need them to craft said tech. But that left one main issue. The metal, I had, now thanks to the Yankee. The polymer, penguins. Enough said there. Crystal, easy. But the 100 element, yeah. I needed a lot of element dust to craft that. But the good thing, there's a very, very good place to farm said element dust on Lost Colony. Both of the large bridges have lamps or, lights. You know what I mean, right? Along the edges, there's like lampposts or some like weird yellow glowing lights. And with a Dodic, you can get hundreds of element dust in just seconds of farming. So, the rest of day 10 was spent over on the bridge, farming up as much element dust as I could carry, thanks to the solo farm mod. By day 11, all the resources that I had just farmed up were back at base, and let's just say an hour and a half, close to 2 hours of farming for element, got me around 170,000 crystal, 20,000 electronics, almost 9,000 scrap metal, and somewhere around 239,000 dust, which came out to 239 element, give or take. This is why I use the solo farm mod, because if I didn't, I wouldn't even have a fraction of all this stuff back at base. It would have taken me 2 days alone just to lug it all back from the bridge. I did briefly go out to grab some chitin for paste because I desperately needed some, but while I was out, I also found a level 140 Elder Claw and a level 55 of the opposite gender, so I killed them both and took their seed. When I got back, though, I started on the polymer farm along with smelting that 9,000 scrap metal since I need 5,000 of it for the replicator. At first, I just put the penguins on breed and waited till the babies grew to around 50% before harvesting the poly from them. Eventually, though, I made up an actual area within the base for them to breed in. It was like a small pit, right, where I'd have the female penguins up along the edges with the male in the middle. Their eggs would then fall down into the pit, so when I went to harvest them, they wouldn't run around my entire base like headless chickens. I will tell you though, from now on, I have to make these polymer farms away from my main base. Mainly because they're so freaking loud it's not even funny. For hours, I was just listening to penguins honking in my ear. It wasn't a pleasant experience. All of this took place over the course of about 3 days, but towards the end of day 13, when I finally had the metal smelted, the element crafted, and all the polymer I needed, something terrible happened. I stream all these parts live, mainly so if people ever come at me with the cheated allegations, I can point them into the direction of all my 9-hour long streams and say, Cap. Unfortunately, my stream and internet decided to take a break for Christmas this year, because right around the 4-hour mark, my stream absolutely shat itself. So the other 4 hours of that stream, gone. Unusable. I'll let past me explain the whole thing. Last stream was cut short. um, Something happened with my internet, and the other 4 hours of that stream were completely lost and corrupted. Um, for those of you watching this on YouTube, I'm going to implement a clip right now for you to see what the last 4 hours of that stream looked like.
Or vandalize, and they'll show no mercy.
There we go. Tech. Let's now. It has 111 mutations on it, which is insane. All right. So as you can see, it is unusable. All that footage. So I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. It's corrupted. The second half of that stream is utterly corrupted. There's nothing I can do about it now, which sucks because we did a lot of things that second half of the stream. As you can see, this is stream 4:16 through 20. But real quick, I'll just go over what we did. So the stream cut off right as I crafted the tech replicator. All right, all the stuff started to get screwy and glitchy. So after I learned that, I decided, all right, hey, I'm gonna hold off on tech for today. Because the stream obviously, I want to stream it so you can see it, so you can see me building it, so I'm not accused of cheating and whatnot. So I held off on tech, and basically what I did, I worked on the skill trees for both the Lost Colony line, and the main line for the skill points. But I also flew around on Bloodborne for like hours. After, of course, getting some more metal and getting some more element. I got another 40 element, the second half of the stream yesterday. But yeah, after that, I basically just flew around, for a while, and tried to find a few certain creatures. I went to try and find a soul wind for Volpite. So as you can see in this box, I found 2 soul winds. One of them was a high level, one of them wasn't. All right. But before we get to that, I have to explain these guys, right? Um, for the past few months before Lost Colony came out, I was breeding Veil Winds nonstop over on Extinction, right? And I think these. Whoa, I'm so sorry. I'm pretty sure these have 90 melee mutations and like 21 health mutations. Um, Altogether they have 111. As you can see, 111 mutations. As you can see, I didn't spawn these mutations in. I didn't use commands. I bred them all out. So I thought, since I did all the work previously, um, why not just, bring them over onto this map? Because listen, people on official are doing it, so I'm like, hey, why not I do it as well? Um, so yeah, I took out these fully max mutated Veilwinds, so we can have good solo wins and male wins once we get there. But the the experience you need to get that to evolve into one of those is ridiculous. Just so I thought I'd just point that out for right now. Also, I did a little reven. Oh my god, English is hard. My bad. I did a little remodeling. All right. I just put this wall of large storage boxes for storage. I got some preserving bins here. I made the polymer farm on the first half of the stream, so that should be fine, as you can see. We have lots of polymer now, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. I got some mortar and pestles here. I did the forges on stream for the first half, so everything else should be fine. Um, Now, let's get back to the storage box. While I was flying around, um, I found a few things, right? I mentioned the solar winds, I got the Volpite, but I also found an Ossodon with a baby. Now, I didn't know they could have a baby in the wild. Um, so seeing an opportunity, I instantly latched onto it, right? There was one level 25 with a female baby, right? That one was getting mauled to death by Dinotheriums, so it didn't take much for me to finish it off with Bloodborne. Um, for me to claim the baby. So that was one Ossodon acquired and claimed in raising in a Dino Ball. Then it had to have been closer to day 16. It wasn't that long ago. I found a 115 with another baby, and this one had an opposite gender Ossodon, all right, from the one I just claimed. So basically, it was a very touch and go. The Ossodon almost killed Bloodborne a few times, but basically I led it to a pack of Dinotheriums again because Dinotheriums are like everywhere on this map. It's really insane. Um, but after that, I went. Luckily, the baby was nowhere near the Dinotherium, so I quickly, once the Ossodon was dead, I went over the baby, claimed it, um, and we now have a mating pair of Ossodons. Now, they're not the greatest, right? It's only a 115. But that melee is half decent. 23, I'll take it. So, yeah. Merry Christmas to me, I guess. Day 16 was spent getting into tech tier. And by that, I mean we crafted up the tech generator first and foremost, so we didn't have to worry about power for the rest of the playthrough. After that, we made up tech armor, which we ran out of polymer, but it didn't matter because of that penguin farm we made. And since I still had some leftover penguins trapped in dino balls, I just threw out what I had and harvested those guys up for the polymer instead of putting the farm on and listening to the endless honking. We also made up a chem bench of Bloodforge. Towards the end of day 16, we went on a small adventure though. Before we did anything, we also built a fabricated crossbow and used the upgrade station on it, so it was a little bit better. Since then, I hear they fixed its trash durability, though, which is a huge relief. I love the weapon, really, I did, but it was just trash in comparison to its durability with literally any other weapon. Now, let's get to the funny bit. Remember when I said that the spawns were messed up on single player? Yeah. Let me show you what I mean by that. Some way to level up That is a lot of toads, my friend. Holy crap. Why is there so many Beelzebuffos? What did that update do last night? Oh my god! Oh my! Oh, look at the frogs! Look at how many! Oh, something happened with that update last night. Something happened with that update last night. I am going to crash. There is so many Beelzebuffos and Baryonyxes. Oh my god! What is happening? There, look at how many there are. I'm going to crash. My man, I'm gonna. They're still going. Oh my lord. So, yeah. Wildcard pushed out an update late one night and somehow messed up the spawns in single player even more. By that, I mean somehow making it so frogs and baryonyxes spawn about 100 times more frequent than any other creature in the game. Fun times all around. But back to the video. Like I said, we were going to go on an adventure, and that adventure would take us to one of the Rockwell zones to try and find us some meat seeds, along with an alpha zombie that I did kill, because, boss fight, you need a zombie brain. It didn't take me too long to get some R seeds, but I'll be honest, I didn't use any of them once this entire playthrough. I Well, I didn't really need them, to be honest. However, I will be using them while I play Lost Colony in my spare time, for you all know how much of a breeder I am if you've watched any of my other videos. And I hate to break it to you all, there's a lot of breeding in the later days here as well. Moving on though, when I got back to base, I made up some more industrial crafting benches along with some beer barrels because I wanted to tame up one very specific creature soon in order to help me defeat some of those outposts. A creature that most of you should know just from that little information alone. That's not all I did on day 17, of course. What's an ARK playthrough if you don't have a greenhouse? Unironically, though, getting seeds was a whole ordeal for me. Apparently, for whatever reason, you can't harvest seeds with a Theri, and I didn't know that. So I had to go out and tame up a Stego just so I could get seeds for said greenhouse, because I needed crops for a few different reasons. The main one was veggie cakes. I wanted veggie cakes so soon because I wanted to tame up some snails so I didn't have to worry about paste any longer. And to be honest, I was tired of going out to kill spiders just to craft up 100 paste at a time. In order to make cakes, though, I'd need sap, so looking up where the hell to find sap on Lost Colony brought me to the Enchanted Forest, where those large trees can actually produce sap if you place a tap on them. Luckily, during day 6, the Forbidden Day, the Gloon Day, we tamed up a dung beetle, so I already had all the fertilizer ready for when I got the seeds, which was the next step. Planting savoroot, rock carrot, long grass, and citronal. There was one point where I found a high level fairy and knocked it out, but I didn't really use it that much because in a few days that 115 male will become pretty obsolete. Now, this was about the time I downloaded the Easy Honey Hive mod, since the spawns were so broken. In order to craft said hive, though, I needed rare flowers, and as luck would have it, I knew exactly where some were. Near the Black Pearl Lake, there were these small, dead-looking flowers along the riverbed that dropped a bunch of them, so I brought my Theory over and grabbed up a ton. On my way back to base, I also harvested up some Ovis for mutton in case I needed to tame something, but that's not really important. What was important, though, was my internet decided to strike back. Again. Okay, that's the second time today that it's crashed, alright? Hopefully I fixed it. I switched to my other wireless network. And I'm praying that it's helped. I'm praying that it was just there was too many devices on that one network and not enough on this one. I'm praying. Please, please, oh please, stop crashing my stream. That's my one Christmas wish for this year. Oh my god, that's twice already in just one stream. I've never had that happen before. Never. Alright, let's see. 115, 115, 115. Alright, those are still pretty good Ocedons, so I'll keep them. Before the stream crashed, we were going to go do something. We're going to go tame up some Achatinas. First, we gotta bring them over. So that's what we are doing today. For the third part of this stream that I'm going to have to, like, mash up together in my video editing software and just hope it exports and doesn't corrupt. That was some weird. Everything is breaking today. Like, my stream crashed, my controller's bugging out. Like, what else is next? Honestly. What is happening? Oh no! Oh my lord, have mercy! I hate Microraptors so much. Oh my lord. No, 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 no. It's not happening. It's not happening. I spoke too soon, didn't I? I spoke too soon. Now there's Microraptors on my ass. Oh my god, this is the worst day ever in ARK. This is terrible. This is the worst thing ever. Stream crashed. My controller's bugging out. Now Microraptors? This is the worst. Next, you know, I'm gonna get Pelovian. Honestly, I can't. What is happening today? Yeah, good old ARK. When you're down, the game decides to kick you around just for the hell of it. Luckily, that was the last time in this entire playthrough that my stream crashed, so we're good from here on out. After I went out to search for some snails, I found one low level and one high level, so using the RG to grab both at the same time, I began to lug them back to base to knock them out and tame. With the sanguine elixirs I had, thanks to Bloodborne, it didn't nearly take as many cakes as it could have, which is fantastic. Honestly, them adding the Desmodus to an actual canon map to ARK is probably one of the best things Wildcard has done in a while. I just love the Desmodus so much for that reason alone. Sanguine elixirs are literally the best. After they were tamed up, I set them both on breeding and basically sat around for a while as both them and the Ocedons kept popping out babies. Once I had enough snails, I basically just put them all in the Dino Depot terminal and allowed passive production, and I was set on pace for the entire playthrough. Literally, at one point, I think I got up to like, what? Over 250,000 paste. Absolutely insane. After that, though, I basically used the upgrade station on my fur and went out and searched for some actual Ocedons to tame for better stats. Unfortunately, the best I could find was a level 125, but I wasn't going to tame one that low level. However, it did have a baby, so I did kill said parent and steal said juvenile. On day 20, the very first of the beer was finally done brewing, which meant I could finally go out and find a good level Dinotherium. Unfortunately, I spent most of the morning just flying around and cursing ARK for arcing me. You know what I mean. The standard curse every ARK player has. You go looking for something, and you don't find it for hours. Dinotheriums were everywhere on this map, yes, but the game decided to make all of them trash levels for me, so I spent most of day 20 just farming up some element dust over on the bridge. Luck was kind to me, however, and towards the end of day 20, I did find an okay level, a 135, which was actually a boon for me considering I had just enough beer to tame a 135 with a sanguine elixir. Overall, the Dinotherium had pretty average stats, but it did have 40 melee, so to be honest, I'll take what I can get while playing this game. Day 21, I spent the entire day scouting the map for a breeding pair of Thylas because I needed better loot, and there was one way that I knew to get the new cursed gear. Neophytes. But in order to kill them, I needed Thyla to bleed them out. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any high-level Thylas. There wasn't a single one that even reached level 100, but that's just how ARK is. You know the drill. You want it, you can't find it. Taming the Thylas did give me the chance to test out the new medical station, and holy cow. That thing is so helpful. You never have to worry about your tames waking up now. It's literally one of the best quality of life items Wildcard has added in a hot minute. Day 22 was spent getting my hostile level up, and I used my newly bred up Octodons to do so, flying to the city and then jumping on said Octodons and killing as many NPCs as possible to get the max hostile rank I could. I also spent the last half of day 22 making a trap outside my base, but I didn't realize that the neophytes won't spawn unless you're right beside the city. So, while I was waiting for dusk, day 23, I flew around in search for a good level Octodon that I would actually tame the correct way. I flew around for a good majority of the day too, and towards the end I did find a 145 and a 150, but by the time I found them, it was almost time for the neophytes to spawn in. So, I went to just outside the city limits and made the trap again. You don't need me to explain neophytes to you, right? I mean, Lost Colony's been out for long enough, so everyone should know about them, but just in case, I'll give you a brief overview. If the hostile rank is at 50, it means the Lost King will send neophytes after you once you get close enough to the city, so the idea is to make a trap right beside said city, wait until night, and once the neophytes spawn in, they'll dive bomb you. Once they're on the ground, you lead them into the trap, shut the door, and jump on a Thyla and bleed them out. Once they're dead, you hop off, grab your loot, and quickly mount and dismount the Thyla again to reset the watched buff, so another neophyte spawns in. I spent the rest of day 23 and the morning of 24 farming cursed loot, and let's just say it's definitely the best source of loot in Lost Colony. By far. After morning rolled around, I then went in search for a Dinotherium for more beer had just been made, and as luck would have it, I found a level 140. Unfortunately, it was the same gender as the other one I had just tamed, and to be honest, the only stat it had that was worth anything was health. 42 points to be exact. After I tamed that up, though, I went back to that 150 Octodon, and I've got a few things to say about this. Most of my complaints, though, have indeed been fixed in updates since the time of taming this Octodon, which is great. Love to see it. Wildcard has made taming these creatures so much easier, and if you add in the Sanguine Elixir, never been easier. But at the time I recorded day 24, there was a lot of issues, one of which was the creature's health. It just it lost so much during the taming process. There were a few times during the entire process when I thought the thing would die, either to me or just wild creatures. But all of that is irrelevant now that they did in fact fix the taming process. Unfortunately, I didn't get a perfect tame on it, but it still came out as a level 196, higher than any other baby I could ever steal. Hmm. You know, without the context of how this game works, that sentence sounds really, really, really bad. Uh, Anyways, day 25 was spent farming up more neophytes for cursed loot, and I actually got some pretty decent items like a cursed ascendant compound bow and a long neck. This cursed loot was so good for one main reason. There was a skill tree branch that made cursed armor and weapons pretty overpowered, so having spent my points in that branch for that reason alone, I knew I wanted the best cursed loot I could get for the playthrough. After I was done farming up the loot, I then flew around with the tech suit to try and find two high-level Drakelings to tame, for I had forgotten that there was another way to get OP loot in the game through the Dragon Horde keys. Plus, the Drakelings give a damage reduction buff and help insulate from the cold. After that, I also tamed up an Oviraptor. On day 26, I found a max level fairy, so I made up a small trap, the same one I used to tame up that very first one, and let it inside before knocking it out with my upgraded fabricated crossbow. I used a sanguine elixir to speed up the taming process, along with the medical station so I didn't need to babysit the thing. While that was taming, though, I went on the hunt for even more Dinotheriums. And luck was definitely on my side on day 26 because I found like 5 high level Theriums. I didn't mention it before, but I did place down some more beer barrels so I could double the amount of beer I produced, so I actually had enough to tame them all up. Unfortunately, none of them had any really great stats, which was a bummer because I know for a fact that you can get like upwards to 50 points into a single stat. But what can you do? Most of this game is just a gamble, praying you get what you need. After I tamed them up, though, I went back to base and started to breed everything. The Theries, the Theriums, and the Ocedons. I would need the Theries for the boss, along with the Ocedons, but those in the Theriums were mainly for the outpost that I had planned to complete as soon as possible. Days 29 through 30. While all the breeding was going on, I decided to do something else. An update literally that day had fixed the amount of XP a Valorant needs to evolve, so I thought this would be the perfect time to evolve my mutated ice foxes. I had some Volpite that I acquired during that messed up stream, the one that got corrupted, but I wanted to actually show myself getting some. So, after some flying around, I found a high level Soloin and used Swiper, my companion, to grab some Ascendant Volpite. I decided to evolve Swiper into a Mailwind though. So when I got back, I crafted up some red element in the Blood Forge, and then I enforced one of the Ascendant Volpite chunks. After that, I fed that to Swiper, who now had max companion experience, and watched as he changed before my very eyes. I went for a Mailwind first, only because I heard they deal more damage, and with the 111 mutations on the Veilwinds that I had, they were pretty powerful. But I'll be honest with you, I never really used the Manwin or Soulwin. I mainly involved them just to tame the new creature, if I'm being totally honest with you. That's not to say they weren't cool, of course. I love how the Soulwind looks. I've always been a sucker for ice powers. You can probably guess that by the name of the Soulwind, but the fact that I was at tech tier, I didn't really see a need for them, you know? Maybe if one were to start the map off without the tech grams, then I could see how it'd be useful. But for me, yeah, not really that useful. The next 10 days pretty much followed the same pattern. Day 31 started off with me reinforcing my gear in the Blood Forge, but now that I had some pretty decent Ocedons, I wanted to complete every last Gamma outpost I'd need for the boss fight. I decided to go for the Revenant ones first because I learned that in order to get the Crimson Sigils, I need to go into the city itself for those. So that meant the Aberrant Sigils were the first on the agenda. I did complete some lost outposts that I found out in the wild, but I mainly did those for loot and the chance of cosmetics since you can't get sigils from them. It took me a while, a little while, right, to get a rhythm down for the Revenant outpost, but eventually I came up with a pretty decent strategy to complete them. To explain, right? For each outpost that I completed, what I'd do was set 3 Ocedons at each entrance. Once the mission was started, on the side that the enemies were coming from, I'd put those 3 Ocedons on aggressive. Once the wave of zombies spawned in, the Ocedons would take care of pretty much all of them without issue. After the first wave, I'd then buy 1 Tesla coil, and the rest of the points would be turrets. Then, I'd repeat the process. Finish a wave, buy turrets. By wave 3, the wave that the Revenant Bronto can appear, i.e. the worst thing you could possibly get with these outposts, each side would then have 1 Tesla coil, as many turrets as it could buy. Whenever I got the Bronto, what I would do was essentially push it back with my personal Ocedon I was riding on towards the outer wall. Once it got stuck along the outside of it, I would simply keep attacking until I eventually popped all those element bubbles on its feet. I did fail a few missions, and it was mainly due to the fact I couldn't get the Bronto stuck in time before it got to the base, but for the most part, these 10 days were pretty eventful for loot and sigils. I got about 70 to 80% of all aberrant sigils I needed by the end of day 40. Now, while all of this was happening, there were a few things that I needed to still do. One of which was taming up a breeding pair of Uties for the boss fight, along with the fact I still needed some kibble, so it was around day 32, I believe, where I found a high level mating pair of Uties that I tamed.
Other than that, there really wasn't much more excitement to be had during these batch of days. I mainly sat around base and continued breeding for mutations on both Ocedons and Theres. And when I say breeding for mutations, I mean breeding for mutations, as in sitting around for 8 hours a day when I wasn't doing outposts to hatch eggs and raise babies, just to do it all over again once I finally got the mutation I was looking for. I didn't want to go anywhere near that final boss without the strongest of creatures, and in order for that to happen, I needed to just sit down and continue breeding no matter how slow or how boring it may be. Trust me, the final product is definitely worth the long wait when in terms of breeding. Plus, at least for me, I rather enjoy the whole breeding process. I literally have spent the last 6 months on my extinction world breeding out max mutated Gigas and Karkars. Before Lost Colony dropped, I believe I had just gotten my 100th melee mutation on my Tech Giga line. There's just something so, I don't know, satisfying to see all your hard work pay off, you know? Knowing that you sat there for months to get those mutations, to get the strongest creature imaginable. Anyways, I've gone off on a tangent. Let's get back on track here, shall we? 31 through 40. Outposts. Breeding, UDs, more outpost, and even more breeding. That's basically it. I did, however, tame up my very first Cryolophosaurus towards the end of day 40. It wasn't the greatest level. I think it was a level 90 or so, but it wasn't the worst. Plus, I just wanted to tame one because, like I said previously, I did want to tame all the new creatures at least once. Minus, of course, one certain creature. Never. Never will I ever tame a Gloon. Gonna have PTSD for the rest of my life thanks to what happened on day 6. Geesh. Day 41 was certainly a day, I'll give it that. Listen, I know that these missions are essential for the boss, but Wildcard needs to fix the AI for them. Mainly the AI for the city itself. These 10 missions for the Crimson Sigils I had to do in the city, absolutely the bane of my existence. I never want to do that again. Just watch. Past me will explain all of my transgressions about city missions. Where is he? This is why I hate doing things in the city. This is the reason why. Because the city architecture, the AI just doesn't do crap. Like, you can't ever do anything about it. And you're stuck in this little box, you can't move, so you can't go and find him. It's just so annoying. Because I have no idea where he is. This is, man, oh my lord, have mercy. This is why, man, I hate doing these missions. I hate doing them in the city. I don't mind the missions. I hate doing them because the boss is just gone. He just vanished. Like, what the hell is this? Now, I don't get my loot, I don't get my sigils because the boss decided to just run away. And I can't move out of this stupid box. Utter trash. What am I supposed to do? Like, I don't understand. What am I supposed to do here? I'm not even gonna try. This is why I hate missions in the city. Mainly because either the boss glitches out or you can't get out of the stupid box that it sets you in to kill the last few enemies. It's the worst thing ever. But we gotta keep doing it. All right, we need the sigils. At this point, I don't even care about the loot. I just give me the sigils, please. I'm so sick and tired of it. Of having to come here and just lose half the missions I complete because the game bugs out. And, like, the enemies won't come towards me. Or I'm stuck in this little itty-bitty invisible box and I can't get to the last enemy. It's so annoying sometimes. I just can't. I really can't. Alright. We're gonna do this one. Hopefully, this one goes better than the last one. There we go. Now give me this key. Thank you. Alright, another thrall. Did I actually get a glider suit? Oh, look at that, I did! Oh, that's cool. Oh man, I hate this guy. Look at him! He's going outside the mission area! Ah! Get him over here. Oh, this is the stupidest guy ever. How do I grab that? I can't grab it! This is why I hate this thing. This is why I hate this game. They're stuck behind the wall and I can't move. Like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, honestly, this is... Oh my lord. What am I supposed to do here? I literally can't move. E2, like, look at, like, I can't. So, yeah. City missions need some TLC. Mainly the way the AI acts. If they didn't get stuck or, run out of the boxed-in area with my key, it wouldn't be an issue, but it's happened more than a handful of times, which is way more than necessary. The next few days were spent doing the same thing, getting the last of the sigils I needed so I wouldn't have to worry about them for the rest of the playthrough. Unfortunately, while I was getting a lot of Gamma City missions, there was only Beta and Alpha Revenant outposts spawning in, so it took me a little longer to get the last few Aberrant sigils. While I was waiting for outposts to spawn in, though, I was mainly sitting at base and breeding up the Theries and Octodons. It wasn't really riveting content, but it was necessary. It was around day 48 when I finally found my very last outpost I needed until I had all the sigils. My last Gamma Revenant base that spawned not too far away from my own base. By this point in time, I wasn't really doing this for the loot anymore. I just needed the sigils. but by now I was really getting the hang of these outposts with my strategy. Quick note though, as of recording this voiceover, I just now learned that an update that they released yesterday made Outpost harder by upping the cost of turrets, which, I'm not surprised, but it still makes me disappointed. So now my strategy for said outposts are absolutely worthless. Thank you, Wildcard. I can always count on you to fix the absolute wrong thing in the game. What about the city missions, huh? What about them? Anyways, enough of my whining. All jokes aside, by the end of day 48, I had every last item I'd need to summon in the boss. And to showcase the moment I got them all, here's a little clip of Helena saying so.
That should be enough sigils to get you access to the Codex in East Palace. I'll do everything I can, but you're going to need all the help you can assemble for this assault.
Day 49 was spent breeding and farming up some metal in order to craft some metal structures. The main reason for that was because I had a main base design in mind, and I wanted to make this base out of metal just because I could. By now, the fairies had about 3 health mutations and 11 melee, while the Octodons had about 5 mutations on both health and melee. So it was a little slower with the Octodons, but that was to be expected since they aren't an egg birth, right? And I have to wait 10 minutes for each baby to pop out of every single female. But by around day 50, as the dinos were breeding, I started to make up all the metal structures I need for the new base. But you all know what a new base means, right? Building montage. Let's go. The last part of day 55 was spent messing around with custom recipes because, honestly, I've never really crafted any before, in either ASC or Ascended. I heard along the grapevine that element dust was absolutely the ingredient that you wanted when making them, though. So I went over to the bridge to farm up some dust. I came back, used a crafting skill potion so I could get the best recipe, and I kid you not, the cake that I made restores like 1200 health and food. The drink is the same, over 1200 water for one single sip with max crafting skill. Like, I knew these things existed, right? But making them for myself and using them is another thing entirely. I no longer had to cook meat anymore or go fill my canteen every 20 minutes. Days 56 through 57 were spent making a little breeding barn I'd be using now that I was at my new base location. I needed a place that was big enough to fit Ocedon, so it was a pretty decent size. Used up pretty much all of my resources a few times while building the place, but it was definitely worth it. By the beginning of day 58, the new barn was as complete as it could be, and I used up some recently farmed up metal to build a tech transmitter and forge. The transmitter was for the boss fight, so I didn't have to go all the way into the city to spawn the boss. And the forge, well, I'll be honest, I completely forgot I had the forge until like the last 20 days or so. And now, as I'm speaking to you in the present, I am so annoyed with my past self because I missed out on so much metal since I forgot the tech forge smelts more ingots per metal ore. There's nothing to be done about that now, unfortunately. The rest of day 58 was spent, can you guess? That's right, breeding. 10 points for Hufflepuff. Listen, you really shouldn't be surprised at this point. The fairies and Occident were coming along nicely. Mutations were happening, and there was really nothing else to do besides wait around because, like I said before in previous videos, I do not like doing any sort of boss fight unless I am fully confident that I will, in fact, beat it. And that meant mutating the army as much as I could with the time I had left. While I was waiting around for babies to grow up, though, I did fly to a Rockwell zone to place down a gas ball collector. When I got back, I also started on another greenhouse. This one so I could keep getting more veggies away from my first base, but also for another reason entirely. Do you remember back on day 11 when I killed those elder claws for their seeds? Yeah, I still hadn't hatched them out, so I thought, what better time than to do so now while I'm waiting for mutations? Thanks to the outpost loot, I had every single craving item I need, including leech blood and ammonite bile, so it wasn't hard to tame them. I simply had to place down a plot in the new greenhouse and keep feeding it the items until eventually a fully grown elder claw popped out. Listen, these things have been out for months, right? You don't need me to explain the taming method. After that, I made up a tech sword for a very specific reason that we'll get into in a few days, before sitting around base and basically waiting around for more mutations to hatch out. On day 61, I went on the hunt for a mating pair of bison for one very specific reason: milk. Winter Wonderland was going on at the time of recording this video, but sadly, towards the beginning, I had to take the mod off of single player due to the fact it was crashing my game for some reason. But I added it back on considering it had been some time since then, hoping they fixed the crash, which they did seem to do. So I decided to get all my Winter Wonderland stuff done now since I missed out on it in the beginning of the playthrough. Better late than never. I needed the milk from the bison because there was a new mechanic in game apparently that if you were to leave Raptor Claws milk and cookies, it would improve the quality of your gift he'd leave you. Or at least that's what I think it does. While the bison were taming, though, I went to search for some of Santa's helpers, the Bigfoots with the Santa hats on them, for they dropped both mistletoe and coal, which I'd need in order to craft all the holiday stuff. They were spawning pretty frequently around the beginning area, so it didn't take long to get a large amount of both items, but I still had to wait a good amount of time. I then used all that I could to craft a new tile set, along with some Christmas decorations. Once I did that, I crafted a small wooden cabin just beside my main base and used up all the new tile sets to make it look like a gingerbread house. I then placed on a fireplace, some tables, a Christmas tree, and overall just made it look pretty festive. So by the time day 62 rolled around and Raptor Claws arrived, I'd be ready. I didn't really get much from the presents, if I'm being honest, just some more coal and mistletoe, along with a few cool exclusive chibis, but overall nothing too special. I did go out with the Ocedons and hunt down some abominable snowmen because each kill gave 50 mistletoe and coal, and I wanted to craft everything this year had to offer. Day 62, I also wrote a letter to Raptor Claus asking for a dinosaur. So I went out and began to hunt down hostile creatures to get my bar up to super nice. And when day 63 rolled around and I was sitting in my bed waiting for him to arrive, he left me a dino beneath the Christmas tree. You want to know what it was? A Polovia. Out of everything he could have given me, a freaking Polovia? He might as well have given me a bucket full of coal. I actually probably would have preferred the bucket of coal than the Polovia. So much for those milk and cookies, right? Days 64 and 65, it was just me hanging around base breeding, but I did make a tribe tower on day 65 and place it down to put the new skin on it, so there was that. Day 66, though, that was a fun day. So some of you may know of the whole situation with Reaper Kings, right? How you could get thralls pregnant and the Reaper would then turn out as a higher level. Yeah, well, I didn't get to do that. Unfortunately, I got sick for like 3 days. I thought I was fine, right? I thought I had escaped the sickness, unlike my entire family, but one morning, woke up and took a shower, right? Normal morning. The moment I got out of the shower, I was hit with the biggest wave of nausea that I have ever had in my entire life. The entire room was spinning, and I literally just collapsed against the bathroom wall and just shut my eyes to wait it out. Still soaking wet, mind you, I had just gotten out of the shower. Eventually, after like 10 minutes of just sitting there, I picked myself up, got dressed, and then just passed the hell out. So, fast forward 3 days later, and I was feeling a lot better, and decided to get on ARK to tame up some Reapers. Unfortunately, the last update had fixed the Reapers. So, yeah, I missed a very good opportunity, but there's nothing to be done about that now. I spent all of day 66 luring a Reaper Queen up from the aberration zone to where I had made the trap, which was very easy with the tech suit. Once I had lured it outside, I then began to throw those light grenades that you get from those Y seeds? I want to say Y seeds. Is that what they're called? The aberration light plants. You know what I'm talking about, right? It was then just a matter of getting it low enough and letting the queen impregnate my survivor. Towards the end of day 66, after killing enough things to get max XP for the embryo, I gave birth to our very first Reaper King, Blackbeard, who had some, you know, pretty decent stats all around. I mean, it wasn't the greatest, they were pretty average, but, you know, I wasn't going to complain, it was a Reaper King. Days 67 and 68 was me just sitting around base and breeding, to absolutely no one's surprise, but as day 69 rolled around, I thought I'd do something fitting. I got pregnant. Again. Listen, I couldn't pass up the opportunity, man. It was too good. Luckily, I found another pretty high level Reaper Queen, so after luring it back up, I just did the process all over again that I did on 66. Although, just to make sure that the thralls definitely could not get pregnant, I did in fact test it out, just to be sure, and yeah, no, they, uh, they definitely fixed it. The moment the Reaper grabbed the thrall, which I aptly named Baby Mama, because why wouldn't I? It instantly killed said thrall before I could even hit the ground, which, is disappointing but not surprising. Still, I had to make sure. So, after getting pregnant again, we went back to base, got max levels, and gave birth to my second Reaper King, Grim. And this Reaper had a base melee of 52. 52! Insane. After all that excitement, though, I simply just, you know, sat around base and kept breeding for the remainder of day 70. But, you should all be made aware this is the absolutely last day that happens, all right? So, you can applaud now. No more breeding. Yay! Day 71 was spent placing down more taps near base and collecting all the sap from them so I could make more veggie cakes, because if I wanted the fairies to be as prepared as possible, they needed a way to heal. Especially since they were thrall with flamethrowers in the final mission. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the creatures I'd be bringing into the Lost King fight would be the fairies, a couple Ocedons, and the two Reapers, along with a Yudi for the courage buff. The entirety of day 72 was spent looking for an Aria. Oh, bear with me here. Aureliax. Aureliax? I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. Aureliax. I found a pretty low level one right off the bat, and decided to just tame it up just to say I had one, but I did want a higher level. Before that, though, let me just talk about the taming method for a bit here. I don't know if this is happening for anyone else. I'm assuming it is, at least for single player, but for whatever reason, after you give the Aureliax its gifts and the eggs fall, the waves are a little bit, well, buggy. And by buggy, I mean it's actually pretty easy to tame them. Since these dragons only spawn on the top of mountains, once the egg falls, it's usually on the side of said mountain, where there are lots of cliffs and little edges for creatures to get stuck on. And something that I learned pretty early on is that if the neophytes get stuck for a certain amount of time, the game just forces you onto the next wave without killing any neophytes. It didn't happen as much during the first tame, but later on in the day when I found a level 145, I skipped like three of the waves due to the neophytes getting stuck along the cliffs. I mean, I'm not complaining. It was actually a really big help. I'm just trying to inform you all in case you want to tame your own Aureliax before Wildcard fixes it. Now that name, I can't. Aureliax. Aureliax? Aureliax. Aureliax. Yes. Right? I'm gonna forget it in 2 seconds, so it doesn't really matter. Towards the end of day 72, I went out and tamed up a breeding pair of Pheomias because we needed a lot of hide. I mean, like a lot of hide, right? You may remember early on when I mentioned something about good saddles, and it was about time to make said saddles for the boss fight. All of day 73 was spent breeding up the pigs and farming up tons of metal for both saddles and one other reason. I wasn't dumb enough to bring the original copy of my Reapers into the boss fight after all. I didn't want to lose them, so I spent a lot of resources on a cloning chamber just so I could clone both Blackbeard and Grim. I needed like 20,000 shards per clone though, so most of my normal element was used up to make shards. I made just enough to clone one for the time being, but at some point I realized it didn't have the imprint buff, so I had to use even more shards to babyfy the Reaper with the Mega Lab so it could get the imprint bonus. While that was going on, I was also making a little hide farm. About 2 years ago, I'd say, I made a hide farm back on the island, and this was loosely based off of that video, but it wasn't as pretty. Listen, I just needed to hide, right? I didn't really care about vanity at the moment. I'll probably go back and make it look more acceptable in my free time, but for now, it worked, so that's all that really mattered. And still, it is one of the best farms I've ever seen before. Basically, the gist of how it works is you'd put like a dozen or so Pheomias above a pit and constantly have them on breeding. Once they have babies, they fall down into said pit. Once there's enough of them inside, you bring in a fairy and you just go to town. I kid you not, after letting the farm just sit there for an hour or so, after one run, I got like 50,000 hide. It's ridiculous, which is perfect when making high-end saddles for boss fights. I had around an 80 armor theory saddle BP, along with a pretty decent Yudi saddle as well, but the Ocedon saddle, it was ascendant and all, and a blueprint, but it costed a lot. and it only had 60 armor, but with crafting skill it wouldn't matter too much. However, I needed a lot of metal and hide for all of them. Around day 76, I took a small break to go hunting for dragon horde chest, right? I've been saving up a few of the keys I had, so I decided to go and hope for the best. I actually got a better tech suit from the chest, along with a better tech rifle and sword, so that was pretty cool. Quick question for you all though. When you have more than one horde key in your inventory at a time, do you sometimes notice how more than one are used at the same spot? So like 3 or 4 chests spawn on top of one another at the same location? Genuine question because it kept happening to me. I don't know if it's because there just aren't that many spots on Lost Colony for the chest to spawn, or if it's a single player thing. It's probably just a single player thing now that I think about it, but I don't know. I don't play official, at least not anymore. After that, I cloned my other Reaper, made some more veggie cakes, and went back for even more metal. Plus, I kept the pigs on breeding and would continuously go back and forth after a while to grab more hide for the saddles. It was around day 78 though when I realized just how dumb I've been these last few days. Remember when I said I forgot about the Tech Forge? Yeah, this is that instance. You know, Tech Forge equals more metal, and I was using just a standard industrial forge, which basically all adds up to Siege being absolutely smooth brained. Just looking at the screen and watching my past self make that mistake is horrible. All of that metal is just gone. Gone. By the end of day 78 though, I had all the boss saddles crafted and ready to go. Day 79 and 80 was just spent hanging around base, waiting for more sap to be produced, crafting more veggie cakes, and basically making sure everything was prepped for the boss fight that was very swiftly approaching. Days 81 through 85, the last days where I did much of anything regarding progress. Let me explain. At first, I went and did some last minute outposts to see if I could get some more loot. And by loot, I mean more of those cool cosmetics, and I kid you not, I couldn't make this up even if I tried. The first outpost I found and completed dropped the Lost Saddle cosmetic for the Therizinosaurus. It's nice to see that sometimes my luck can be pretty good in this game. Throughout these next 5 days, you'll see how I'll run around and do a few last minute outposts just to pass the time, but that's really all it was, a way to pass time. I also tried out the resource caches due to the fact they had just changed how they work and made them easier, but at this point in the playthrough, anything that the caches dropped was something that I didn't really need all that much of. While at base, waiting for the rest of the sap to produce for the last of the veggie cakes, I also made sure that all the dinos I'd be bringing in were as leveled as could be, and for the fairies, I put on their new saddle skins. Like I said, the rest of the time was mostly me just AFK waiting for the sap to produce, but by the end of day 85, I did tame up a max level Cryolophosaurus that I found all flying around. Which brings us to the last 13 days of this playthrough, all of which were spent building a breeding tower that I plan to use in my free time while on the map after this playthrough. Before I show the last building montage of the video, and I hand you off to pass Siege, I'm going to take this time to tell you that if you've made it this far into the video, you're amazing. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for watching all the way and getting to this point itself. If you'd be so kind as to drop a like and a comment below, I'd very much appreciate it, to help grow this ever-growing channel. I see more and more people joining after each ARK video I post, and I couldn't be happier, honestly. It warms my heart to know that my content can reach people out there, and some of you may actually enjoy it. Anyways, before I send you off to the boss fights, let's show you my one last building project that I may or may not have copied from another ARK YouTuber. The link to their original video will be in the description below. Enjoy, everyone. Enjoy. So yeah, I'm not gonna sit around here and talk for 20 minutes. We're just gonna get right into the boss fight. I have 15 fairies, one Yudi, two Ocedons, and two Reaper Kings that we're gonna bring to the boss fight. The Ocedons are heavily mutated, so are the Therizinos. Plus, they all have very good saddles. Over 100 armor on the Theries, plus 40 veggie cakes on each. The Ocedons have close to 100 saddles, with crafting skill. The Yudi has 100 armor. The Reapers are just Reapers. I'm not sure if Blackbeard is gonna live, but Grim is pretty OP over here. He has 40,000 health and 530 melee damage. So I'm hoping these Reapers put in some damage. But yeah, I have everything. I have everything that I might need. in my inventory. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and start this up and hope nothing bad happens. Let me get to the Yudi first, if I can. We got the minor sigils. And we got the neophyte horns. Alright, here we go, everybody. Gamma, Lost King, Red-Handed Mission. Let's go!
It has to be somewhere inside this palace.
Okay,
Let's just hope this lost king has
here
something in his
we go. Okay, I'm kind of nervous here. Kind of nervous, but it's all right. We got this. All right, where's my Yudi? There is the Yudi. Okay, so I'm going on the Yudi. Enable auto courage, and then everyone move away from me.
Just stick to
Nope.
your plan, okay? Locate the codex, transmit it, and then
All right, we have an hour. We got this.
What have we done? A wayward pet has finally found its way.
We got this.
How could I ever?
All right. Come on, come on. Come on, we got this. Come on. Okay, 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 okay. Come on. Okay. They're in. Am I missing anything? I don't think I am. I just have to keep going. I just have to keep going.
Inside helping you. While I look into that, I'm restricting all access but my own. My children will be there soon to show you out.
Come on. What am I stuck on? You will not win.
Now all we need is his master key. That won't
Oh.
be some random thought. Your best bet is his administrative wing over there.
All right, come on. Yeah, I just take him out with the tech rifle right here. Come on. You're not. Listen, I'm not falling. Come on, keep it coming. Cool. You. Holy Jesus! Oh my lord, did you see that? Holy. Come on. Come on.
Found the master encryption key.
There we go.
Now I can decrypt
All right.
the code. Open sesame. Let's
Perfect.
hope that's the last lock I need to pick.
All right, I'm gonna go see if I left anything behind. Still got 2 Reapers, still got 2 Ocidons. We're good to go.
But there's no time to panic. Inside a straight shot to the codex. But you've got to hurry.
You would never. You want my codex? Fine. The rest of them. That's tell your Homo Deus friend. She can't have it.
He seems to have an endless supply of soldiers to sick on you, doesn't he?
Aggressive. Yes! Oh, okay, here we go.
No! I am going to kill you! Show me what you've got! Try to at least make this amusing.
You've got it, buddy.
Challenge in ages.
Aggressive. Ow! Alright, here we go. 2, 3, 4.
This rate, you'll ground him in no time.
No. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was only 3.
Oh, what?
Shut them all down.
I'm going, Helena. Yes. Did you want something? You're good, Lost King.
Back to the air, Dino Depot. Let my children be the
Focus on taking out his pylons.
I've shown you. I can shrug off anything you do to me.
Can you get off me? You, please, for the love of God, get off me. Buddy, you got nothing. Buddy, look at your health.
The last of our kind.
He's actually afraid. And he should be.
You are dead, buddy. Look at you go. Bye-bye.
If I cannot stop you, there is still someone left who can.
Trespassers! You should not have come here. You will feed the lost children, and your strength will be added to theirs, and to me, their queen.
What have they done to you? Survivor, please. I'm begging you, you have to help her.
I'm going, man. Not man.
There must be some way to lower her defenses and reach the person she was.
Give me this.
Rockwell must have infected her weapon with Edmundium during his time here, so she might just be vulnerable to it. Go get that space survivor.
Ow.
Rockwell has one last defense.
Bam. Boom. Come on. No. Nothing. I will not let you go.
No, I am the lost queen.
I'm sorry, May.
You're not healing.
I should have. Your brother was harmed. He fought by your side in the Yellow Turban Rebellion. He believed in you. Everyone did. You were a leader.
I need Mayan to come over here.
Royal queen.
What? What? What the fuck happened? No. No, we're not. No. Alright, we're back. Let's hope nothing bad happens, because I swear if this happens again, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind.
How long could we prevent his awakening? Minions fighting to get out, I know it! A warrior, as fierce as yourself. And you found love again.
Come on.
But our fate was
Come on,
my
come on.
fault.
Please don't do this again.
I let
Dude.
you die.
No. You saw
Do
justice.
not.
Keep your distance from those red hunters. Terrible.
Come on.
Stop her! Later you decided to stay behind while your fellow survivors hibernated.
Come on.
Hear me! You found something real on the Ark with Diana and Helena! Despite the loss and pain! Something you thought you lost in your first life! Thousands of years before!
What? What did I find with them?
Yourself! Your true self! Li Mei Yin! And she's still there within you now! I know you, Helena. Join us here. And let the lost colony be cleansed like the Earth has been.
Your vision came true while I was lost?
Yes. I eventually found my champion. And the Titans finally fell once and for all. Earth was cleansed of its element poisoning and reseeded. It's a paradise now, beyond wonder, with all things in balance. As we can make our Arat together.
Then let me join you in paradise, Helena. And we will bring Diana back to us.
Everything will finally be set right.
Let's go. Oh my god, thank the Lord. Oh my god. We did it. Thank god it didn't glitch. I swear if I would have got kicked again, I would have cried. Alright, here we go. Ascend. And that
brings us to the end, folks. Listen, I don't care what anyone says. I was nowhere near the blast radius of that red element crystal when it exploded. If you look back at the footage, I wasn't even in the red perimeter of the crystal. Me, using my brain, thought that if I wasn't in that circle, I would be safe. Obviously not. And sure, did I make a backup save right before the boss fight? Absolutely. Will some consider that cheating? Probably. But that's the whole reason backup saves were implemented in single player to begin with. When the game decides to ARK you. And it's not like I cheated the mission. I went through it all again with the dinos. I just cut back to where we first left off about an hour later. No harm done. Anyways, enough about me trying to explain myself. I did it. I completed ARK Lost Colony in 100 days. From December 20th all the way to January 20th, exactly 1 month after release. After playing it, I can confidently say that this is by far one of my favorite maps. I enjoy it much more than I do Scorched Earth, that's for sure. Extinction is still probably my favorite map, but for now, the island and Lost Colony are tied for second. I'd have to play more of Lost Colony to see if it trumps the island, but so far, those three are the best DLCs in my opinion. So, what's next? Well, Survival of the Fittest is arriving really soon, and I've never played any version of it before, so there may or may not be some of that coming your way very soon. A PvE gamer playing PvP? What could go wrong? After that, Gen 1 is right around the corner, so there'll be another 100-day playthrough on that map coming your way once it drops, where, hopefully, we can beat it solo. Fingers crossed. But, unfortunately, that's all for now, folks. I'll see you all real soon with more ARK content coming your way. But, if you'd be so kind as to leave a like down below to help out a small, yet ever-growing channel, it'd be much appreciated. We just hit 500 subscribers, and to some that may not be a lot, but to me, that's still mind-boggling that 500 people have decided to stick around and give my content a try. That is more people than my graduating high school class. Also, leave a comment down below. It could be just a simple hello or a suggestion on what you would like to see me do next, whether it be a 100-day challenge or a game to play. I read all the comments, and I'll be sure to try and answer any and all questions you all might have for me. But, until next time, folks, this is Siegebreaker, signing off. I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care, everyone. Take care.